Good afternoon, everybody. Can I ask you to take your seats, please, that we can continue with the agenda? Please take your seats.
This is the extreme sport of equestrianism. It's fast, it's dangerous, it's technical, and anyone can win. The clock is ticking away. He means business, this man. Brilliant turn. He's quicker, up on the clock by 7 seconds. This is going to be very quick indeed. 2:43, he's well ahead of the clock. That's gone. He's going to have to go some. Beautiful. Absolutely perfect for Brad Channon. What an incredible time. What an incredible driving tube by Hexel. That was unbelievably brilliant.
You're welcome, Karoli. Good afternoon, everybody. We hope you had a good lunch. We will go back now to point 24.5, which is the election of deputy group chairs. So the first vote that we'll ask for the election of the EEF Regional Group Deputy Chair. As you know, according to the new EEF statutes, the deputy chair of the regional group must be from the EEF board. Therefore, Zonke Lauterbach from Germany will be replacing Sandra Widmer. Could we ask for your approval for the election of Zonke Lauterbach as Deputy Group Chair of EEF? Anyone against? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Zonke. And thank you very much, Sandra. We now move on to the second regional group deputy chair, and that would be for, we are asking, as Theo Vogmakers has now been elected as board member, we are asking you to elect Ulf Helgstrand. Can we ask for your approval, please? Thank you. Any objections? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Ulf. Then we will move on to the regional group chair for group 5, and that would be Maribel Alonso. She will be replacing Daniela Garcia Naglioni, who has now been appointed to the jumping committee and can no longer serve as deputy chair. Could I ask for your approval, please? Any objections? Any abstentions? Congratulations, Maribel, if you're watching us live. And then upon the re-election of Luis Roberto Duini, we would like to ask you to elect Gabriel Vidal as Deputy Chair for Group 6. Can we have your approval, please? Any objections? Any abstentions? Congratulations. Felicitaciones, Gabriel. And now we move on to point 24.7, and there I will give the floor to our president.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. So with regard to the election of the FEI vice presidents, and we don't have any longer a first and a second, we have two, and they both have to come from different regions in the world. I would like, first of all, to say that the 4 years that I have had the honor already to be your president, I was very much supported by my executive board and also by my actual two vice presidents. It's like in many sports, never win or never change, never change a winning team. And for that reason, I would like to propose His Excellency Sheikh Khalid and Mark Samuels to be elected as FEI vice presidents. So first of all, maybe we need to do that individually. So can I have your votes for Sheikh Khalid, please? Thank you. Anybody against? No. Any abstentions? No. Then congratulations, Sheikh Khalid. And I would like to have also a vote for Mark Samuel. Can I have your votes, please? Who approves? Anybody against? Any abstentions? No. Then also congratulations, Mark. Thank you very much. And again, as I said, and normally I don't need to do that, but I think it's very important for you to know the whole team. And again, as I said, don't change a winning team. So I would propose to have the same members of the executive board. They have been very supportive over the last 4 years, and I really count on their support also for the future. So that will be Mr. Frank Kemperman, yeah, Luis Roberto Cugni, and Maria Gretzer as chair of the Athletes Committee. So I look forward to work with all of you together, and there doesn't need to be a vote on this because these are appointments, but I would like to thank them and So thank you very much, and I give the floor back to our Secretary General.
Thank you.
And I forgot one thing, very important, is even not a point for this General Assembly, but I would also like to underline that I also asked our Secretary General to stand with me and to support us further also in the future. She has done a wonderful job over the 4 years, and I remember 4 years ago she was not that keen to become Secretary General. I had to make it temporary in the beginning, but I think really now she likes the job and she agreed to continue together with all of us, and I think really she deserves also an applause.
How could I say no with such formidable people and a formidable president? Thank you very much for your kind words. So we will now move on to point 32, which is a Question Community Integrity Unit report, and I would like to invite Lord Stevens to the podium. Lord Stevens.
Mr. President, Secretary General, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. You may remember that last year I stood before you all and spoke about how there was not enough federations that are prepared to change their procedures for the greater good of sport. The desired appetite was not evident to implement the appropriate good governance through correct procedures. Well, things have changed, and I'm happy to say that this tide is now turning. More and more international federations are implementing processes that create significant change. Independence is vital when governance is under review. And as you know, perhaps better than I do, the public's trust in sport is at stake, and that trust has taken a significant hit in recent years, and indeed in the last 12 months. Sport enjoys a privileged place in society, reaping the benefits of being a fully established industry, but not the subject to the same external regulation as others. Not only have we seen 22 indictments in the FIFA case, but we've seen criminal convictions of athletes and administrators of a range of sports, from football to boxing, athletics, and more. That continues. Furthermore, long-established principles allow sport to self-govern and self-regulate. However, as time goes on, more and more sports are realizing that it's no longer okay to make your own homework and market yourself. Sports are recognizing the need for independence in these processes, and following the example set up by the FEI in establishing external structures to run these functions, other sports are following this sport. And in the past year, we've seen a shift that shows independent reviews and external experts are being ushered in to provide insight, whether this is by a panel or by an integrity unit. And as we have seen with government scandals in organizations such as Amateur International Boxing Association and the International Biathlon Union, governance issues are not fully investigated, and if they are not fully investigated, they bring that federation down to its knees. Take, for example, the approach of tennis in commissioning, and here I quote, a no limit as to time and a no limit as to cost review of its structures. And this ended up costing millions and millions of pounds, and further cementing the importance of independence when it comes to governance structures, which is why the independence of a review that has been given full authority and access is absolutely critical to those of us who investigate these matters and actually create integrity structures. Well, the good news is this is where the FEI lead by example. And you've done so since 2010. And were this year recognized to be right at the very top in the Association of Summer Olympic International Federations Governance Review in terms of your policies and your procedures. But you know, as we saw with FIFA, the scandal back in 2015, you can have as many policies in place as you like, but you need a culture of transparency and openness that underpins those policies, a moral compass that lives and has the embodiment of those principles. And again, under the leadership of President Ingmar, the FEI has shown that they have an outstanding track record in the past with their committed implementation of them. It's not just us saying that, it's other organizations and independent organizations judging you to be at the very top of what you do and how you do it. And it goes further than that. This structure that the FEI have established is fast becoming the template for federations across the globe. I know that because I'm involved in some of that structure and the recreating of that. The FEI is the example. And whilst in the past this has been a federation task, umbrella organizations which are being created and have been created in the last 12 months, such as the Global Organization of International Sports Federations, the Association of Summer Olympic International Federations, the Association of the International Olympic Winter Sports Federation, are beginning to invest heavily in external expertise. The recent announcement that the new governance support and monitoring unit is operational is a significant milestone. And the key aim of this external unit is to help to steer federations towards a better governance in the next 2 years, and something we all, I think, can get behind. And the recent establishment of the Independent Testing Authority to strengthen the global anti-doping system is a program that will provide services to federations and major event organizations that wish to outsource their testing to independent bodies. And this focus on neutrality and independence has to be a positive step. And just last week, the WADA Governance Working Group published their report to the Foundation Board on their recommendations for government and governance reform. And what a surprise. They have identified the need for increased independence in their governance functions and empowering the voice of the athlete. Further to all of this, 2018 has seen a considerable shift in the focus of integrity in sport to the narrative of the empowered athlete, with their safety and well-being being the most important issue. And all of you in this Grand Hall know that in recent years, much of the focus has been about match fixing, corruption, and financial gains by specific individuals. But believe you me, this is changing. The impact that social media has over sportsmen and women, and we've seen that illustrated this morning before lunch, is significant, with individuals who have been hiding behind a profile so that they can address abuse at someone at any time. The establishment of a reporting hotline to collect the information and the training and awareness program for athletes are becoming a requirement. And safeguarding of athletes at all levels is an area that needs development and correct procedures that must be put in place. Protecting the anonymity of athletes that find the courage to report instances of abuse, bullying, and harassment is imperative for a program of its kind to succeed. And we've all seen, have we not, the impact that one person can have on so many lives in the United States of America within the sport of gymnastics, and how one person's bravery can light a spark that is a catalyst for real change and bringing the perpetrators to justice. There must be a platform where victims can be protected. They can be heard and their story can be told. This informs and helps and encourages others to stand up to institutional behaviours that need to be eradicated. Nothing else is satisfactory. Bullying is part of this, and the impact it can have on the mental well-being of athletes, trainers, and support staff has to be monitored. The United Kingdom charity Mind have become key partners of the English Football League and are directing more attention to the awareness of mental health. And with Mind's involvement, UK Sport and English Institute of Sport have developed a new mental health strategy that will be implemented across the board for Tokyo 2020. And this demonstrates a significant increase in the focus on mental health, which should be a pillar of any safeguarding program. Well, you know as well as I do that 2018 was a packed year. It was a packed year for the FEI in terms of horse sport, and we, the Integrity Unit, your Integrity Unit, attended numerous events. Our involvement and work has increased, and as I said last year, the hotline, the involvement of people calling that has increased. This year, we had 3 times more calls than we had the previous year. I see this as a very optimistic sign, that they have confidence people to call us and that we can act in the way that they want us to do their bidding and actually protect them. The FEI Clean Sport programme is a key driver for change in the sport. Horse welfare is a major part of this and must prevail in all circumstances. None more so than was experienced this year in North Carolina at the World Equestrian Games. I know many of you have had a full presentation, but I know some of you haven't. So I just want to very quickly touch on that before I draw a conclusion to what I'm saying. Your integrity unit was tasked by the FEI to review the events that led up to the full start of the endurance event on the morning of the competition, and furthermore, the underlying reasons of how it got to that stage. I unfortunately couldn't be there at the time. I couldn't get in by weather, but my team were there, and I think I irritated them massively by ringing up every other hour to see what was going on, but I think hopefully they've forgiven me for that now. There was a catalogue of errors that created the perfect storm which resulted in a false start of the competition. There were a number of issues, such as a clear lack of communication by the officials, which may in part be caused by an obvious lack of readiness of the venue in the days leading up to the competition. Furthermore, the construction of the venue, which was already a large equestrian centre, was significantly behind schedule. I personally visited it 6 months before the event, to get an idea of the geography of what was going on, so I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about. The ancillary projects that took time and resources away were also a major factor in the late readiness of the venue, and in some cases where certain infrastructure projects were not finished at all before the start of the Games. Resourcing was a factor that led to problems. Staffing levels were deficient throughout much of the process, and staff that were in place were not dedicated to the delivery of the Games. And you, the FEI, invested heavily into the Games, with significant funding and personnel provided to the organising committee to ensure an endurance event took place. And it's unacceptable that the events unfolded as they did, and the competition had to be abandoned when the welfare of the horses were at stake. Now, we must take all of these issues and, of course, learn from them. It's not just endurance, there were other complaints. Therefore, it's more important now than ever to keep integrity at the heart of everything we do. And all of this takes place on a hugely turbulent sports landscape in general, both in relation to the economics, politically, and in terms of the trends I've mentioned. In this kind of atmosphere in sport, even the smallest incident involving integrity will be a subject line of headlines in the world's newspapers and causes enormous reputational damage. And all international federations have a value in their sponsorship, contract, and support base in order that they survive. And this kind of risk is a huge threat in these times particularly. It makes it more important than ever that the FEI continue to maintain their lead in governance matters over other international federations. And this position of respect that you have was established by and through hard work of the national federations throughout the process that started in 2008. And I see some friendly faces and people who certainly held us to account who are still in this hall, thank God. This is our 10th anniversary. You started the integrity trend that others are now following. You started it. They are following you. And I think each and every one of you can feel proud of this and know that others hold you in the highest regard. Secretary General, as always, open to questions if there are any.
Many thanks, Lord Stevens. Are there any questions for Lord Stevens? In that case, Lord Stevens, thank you very much for your report and again for highlighting the importance of safeguarding our athletes and the online tool that is there for reporting. Thank you very much.
Thank you to the Assembly. Thank you.
So we will now move on to point 33.1, which is the Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games update. And I'm very happy to invite Haruta-san, who all of you know as the host of the General Assembly in 2016, former member of the Nominations Committee, and now Equestrian Sport Manager for Tokyo 2020.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me again to the General Assembly. First of all, I would like to thank FBI for many advice and cooperation to the organizing committee. First picture, the mascot of Olympic and Paralympic was determined this year, and the blue one is for the Olympic. Name is Mirai Toa, meaning forever future. And the pink one is for the Paralympic. Name is Someiti, is represent beauty of sakura cherry blossom. This time, maybe I can inform a little bit progress, maybe certain progress than last year in Montevideo. Key persons, my name is on the top, and service manager and vet service manager, Hiroko. And competition managers, jumping and dressage, Stephen, and eventing, Alec Loco, and technical operation manager, Mario Minoru Kuwamoto. He is from Brazil. 2 years ago, he was venue management. He is working very hard. Recently, the TD has been appointed. Dressage delegate is Mary, eventing Philip Sal, jumping Luis Konix, and paradressage Haneke Gritchen, and some more. Eventing course designer, Derek Di Grazia, and David Evans as a course builder, and jumping course designer, Santiago Barrera, and footing advisor, Oliver Hoberg. All of them are working very hard already. As you know, the schedule, the detail of the competition format was explained yesterday, and you can see the date. And one of the things is the 2nd of August, jumping train session, but same time, eventing cross country in the morning. And in the morning and the afternoon, the evening, in Bajikoen, training session of jumping. Transportation of horses is operated by PDEN. Indicate quarantine, 7 days pre-export quarantine before departure. And after arrival, horses transported directly to Bajikoen, and then a day quarantine means less than 24 hours at Bajikoen. Very soon, the horses will be out of store. Narita Airport, it's far, but will be used for the scheduled flight. And the charter flight to the Haneda Airport, but it is not confirmed yet. The store allocation will be nation by nation. The stable manager, who is PDEN staff, will consider the allocation. Athlete and accredited people living in Olympic Village to the Bajikoen Equestrian Park and Sioux Forest. The distance is like this. And hotels for the technical officials will be in Shibuya, much, much closer to Equestrian Park. And to go Sioux Forest, now a new tunnel is now construction. It will be completed in the spring of 2020. This is the main venue, Bajikoen. Horse entrance is here, and loading, unloading area is the place showing. And athlete entrance means all the TO and the Olympic family and everybody, accredited people from this entrance. And another gate with PSA is here, spectator entrance. And FOP, which is 100 meter and 80 meter. This is final warm-up. The training arenas and eventing Europe and eventing training area, which is also the grazing zone, grazing area. Already the grasses are completed and pond, lake also. The one of the lake, another bottom lake is not for the horses. The upper lake is for horses. This is the office, main office, Olympic Family and Paralympic Family Lounge is on the third floor. Huge floor, it's very big, so everybody can enjoy to see the competition and to relax on the table. This is the operation center, a lot of offices here, vet clinic and sports information office, briefing room, and of course FEI office and sports manager office and etc. Also the TO and FEI lounge. Athlete stand is on the bottom, and the inside of the indoor arena, upper floor is for the athlete and grooms lounge. And stable. Indoor arena. Judges Tower, it's a second floor. And groom's accommodation. And the groom accommodation is third floor of the operation building. And another two locations. The second floor of the bottom is on the stable, and another. Altogether, 320 capacity. I mean, the room number is 160, and it's twin rooms. So 320, the capacity is. This is real picture. It's end of October, just recently. The construction is going on. Almost, the operation building is almost, can see the shape. And also the indoor arena is not all, but some. You can see already the green area is already done. And As you can see, this Bajkoen is in the very crowded residential area, so we have to be careful for some lighting at midnight or a lot of things. This is a picture of the construction of FOP. Just last Thursday, the construction started. As I introduced before, the footing advisor is Oliver Hoberg, and footing material is from Netherlands. The company is De Grand Slag. Of course, all the training areas, training arena is the same thing, including indoor arena. But event and Gallop is not the same. Okay, move on to the Sea Forest. Athlete entrance and also the horse entrance, just a little bit bottom. And this one is bus terminal. The people come from nearby stations. And altogether, we have 116,000 gross capacity. So the people, I'm going to explain later. Stable at 80 stores. Warm-up arena. And the start and finish. And cooling area, nearby finish, and control center on the top of the hill. So from control center, we can see almost all the courses. And this venue is, we call precinct. It's the waterway for rowing and canoe sprint is not the competition date is not ours, but after rowing, we use cross country, and after cross country, canoe sprint will be started. This is the one, this lake is on the top. This is the red point is for the PSA. People come from this gate and walk to like this, and come on to the plain area. This is a real picture in September, just a couple of months ago. Already all the grasses construction finished, and also lake, the water bottom of footing finished. And this is famous Tokyo Bay Gate Bridge. This is the course, you can see the early stage of cross country. So the athletes can see the gate, the bridge. And this is a view to the northern view from the flat area. This is the man-made island on the Tokyo Bay. This is one of the pictures, the jump drop is maybe kind of feature place, 1.9 meter drop. Oh. This is the third, actually, by the way, this is third water. And on right side is kind of mountain we call Mount Fuji. This view is from our office, I mean the Tokyo 2020 Harumi office. This is, Olympic Village now under construction. Of course, this construction will be complete 2020 spring. And the other bridge we call Rainbow Bridge. We use this bridge to go Sea Forest. Okay, test event. Next year, new CCI 3-star short. Qualification this year, CIC 2-star. The location is Bajikoen and Sea Forest, of course. The date is August 12, 13, and 14. And test event also quarantine policy is same as the Olympic. It's kind of, bubble to bubble, easy to come and start exercise very easy. I'm planning about 30 horses. I hope more and more foreign horses, please participate. Also, we welcome the NOC visit, even if no horses, but please come to see the facility and Sea Forest and Bajikoen. Of course, this time, the construction is not finished. Just permanent construction almost finished, and overlay construction is not finished yet. And some limitation we have for the test event, but maybe we can do because not many horses. And in the final slide, volunteer registration. Now internet registration is open, but it's from September. But very soon, the registration window will be closed, first week of December. So it's internet registration, very easy to access Tokyo 2020 volunteer. So please apply to the volunteer. Thank you very much. Maybe I need to inform more, but so far I have this slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Haruta-san? Okay, we have a question over here, please. Alicia?
Thank you for your presentation. Just one quick question concerning the quarantine. Is it going to be like 7 days before the departure from Europe to Japan, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and 3 days after arrival. How many days after arrival there? How many days after the arrival to Tokyo?
No. That's why I explained. Just on the day.
Okay.
Arrival at airport, coming directly to the Bajikoen, and just on the day.
Okay.
Less than 24 hours. Even if in the midnight, maybe next morning. Arrival midnight, maybe morning. It's okay. Just inspection. Government inspection, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Gloria?
Thank you. I'm Gloria from Ecuador National Federation. I congratulate you on a wonderful presentation. It's really good to see that everything is in place, and we're looking forward to a magnificent event. This is more of a, I'd like to know how come the mascot for the Paralympic Games doesn't have the 5 rings.
Oh.
Isn't the rings supposed to represent the whole world, all the continents?
Oh. The rings on the head is just a little bit different. That is, but all the part is the same number, same shape, and represent some variety and what can I say?
No, I think if you look well, but it's maybe not clear enough here, you have two mascots. You have the mascot of the Olympic Games, which has, if you look very well, not between the eyes, but just above between the eyes, you will see there the 5 Olympic rings. And then the other mascot is for IPC, with the logo of IPC under the logo of Tokyo 2020. Was that your question?
Yes, but on the IPC, I only see like 3 lines.
Oh, this is
colors.
IPC logo. The pink one has an IPC logo and blue one Olympic logo, and Tokyo logo.
But the IPC is the Paralympic mascot, right? But it's only 3 colors. There are no rings, no 5 rings.
No. IPC has only...
Yeah,
Now
Gloria.
I will ask Sabrina to answer this one.
Now I have the
great
answer.
Yeah, that's the logo of the IPC. That's different
what I
from
wanted
the
to know.
IOC.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
And
Gloria.
Tokyo slogan is United and Diversity. United and Diversity, something like that. The logo is represent kind of United and Diversity. Thank you.
They are both adorable, though, that's for sure. Are there any further questions for Yasuhiko Haruta? In that case, thank you very much for the
Thank you very
updated
much.
report. We appreciate it. So we will now move on to point 34, which is the Youth Olympic Games, and I give the floor to the President.
It was pretty speechless being here.
All the guys who's working with the horses are so kind and so good.
Made a lot of good friends and everybody's super nice.
Thank you very much. I think this video showed very clearly what excitement it was to these young athletes to be in Buenos Aires after a tough qualification period. So I can say that it was a great organization, and I would like to thank the National Federation of Argentina, here represented by our honorary Vice President Pablo Mayorga, for organizing this and for helping. And I must say that I knew from the start that we were going to be in good hands, because it's an equestrian personality. He's even a veterinarian, Gerardo Wertheim, who, as colleague IOC member, is also president of the Argentinian National Olympic Committee and was also the president of the organizing committee of these Youth Olympic Games. And I think he and his team did a fantastic job. And as his background was, of course, equestrian, we felt very confident that everything was going to be great, and this was also the case. I would like to thank also his son, Gregorio Wertheim, who is the president of the National Federation you are representing here, and they have a competition for the moment. That's why they couldn't be here with us today, but they did a great job. I think also, when you look at the results, we had, of course, a fantastic Italian winner. Congratulations for the individuals. And the North American team won the gold in the team competition. But I think that it was very important, a very clear signal, especially as a couple of days before we allocated the Youth Olympic Games 2022 to Africa. It's time for Africa, it's time for Senegal, that it was great to see that the bronze medal in team was won by the team of Africa. And I think that is a big achievement, and it shows that the sport is really developing also in that continent. So we look forward to see the Youth Olympic Games in Africa in 2022. I also would like to extend my gratitude to somebody special, because I was at a certain stage in between the team and the individual competitions. There was what we called a demo day, which was a day where a lot of things were done with the athletes to make them, to educate them, basically, to give them a better insight in a lot of technical aspects of our sport, and that was very much appreciated. But I think what Luciana Diniz from Portugal, of course a very famous jumping rider, what she did there as a role model, making herself available for this long week, to work together with the athletes, to motivate them, but also giving them real courses on how to prepare, not only technically, but also mentally, to participate in such competitions, has been a real eye-opener for these athletes, and I must say also for me, because it was really a fantastic experience. So I think we can say, and this was confirmed also by the IOC President, Dr. Thomas Bach, who visited together with many other IOC members the competitions at equestrian competitions at the Youth Olympic Games, and I think we can be very proud and that it was a very successful event. And again, as I said, it's important to deliver good Olympic events also in the Youth Olympic Games to consolidate further our position in the Olympic movement. And for those who have seen the presentation of John Nichols on vaulting, he did also a similar one in the Bureau, and I got a very clear message that one of my next targets, and I'm not sure that I will be able to deliver it, but I will do my best, is to try also to include vaulting more in the Olympic program, starting maybe with the Youth Olympic Games in Senegal. And I hope that the president of the Senegalese National Federation, Mr. Ibrahim Awade, is here, and I hope that through this channel I can also pass the message to him to take into consideration maybe to add this discipline on the agenda for YOC 2022. It will be, of course, challenging. Equestrian sport in Africa is not always easy. The advantage is, of course, that it is on borrowed horses. But we need to be careful and proactive, and for that reason I will already with technicians visit Senegal, Dakar in the next month. I think the visit is planned around 10th of January, to make sure that the preparations really start in time in order to deliver the best Youth Olympic Games 2022. So thanks a lot for the organization of 2018, and congratulations to all of you, the national federations, that athletes over there, for being there, because already being there was after a very tough selection process, for being there, for performing there, and of course for those who obtained the medals. Congratulations again for the medals, and we look forward to Africa, to go to Dakar in 2022. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them as a report for the Youth Olympic Games. No? Then I thank you, and we can move on to the next point.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the next point on the agenda is the IFIA World Equestrian Games 2018. So we had a very thorough and 90-minute session yesterday, and we would like to thank the national federations that were present and that attended this meeting, truly for the open and frank discussions. We will also, as we mentioned yesterday, but I wanted to confirm here today, that we will be providing you the presentations that were presented yesterday for your information and for distribution, as you had requested and as we wanted to do anyways. So thank you very much for that. We move on to FEI World Equestrian Games 2022. And as mentioned during these past 2 days, we are opening a bidding process for individual world championships in all disciplines for 2022. Again, a preference would be given to multidisciplinary bids. And as we mentioned, dressage and para-dressage should be combined. I will reiterate that this does not mean the end of the World Equestrian Games. To bid for 7 disciplines for 2022 or 2026, they will be considered. But we know how important these championships are to secure our Olympic qualifications and Paralympic qualifications, and this is why we have moved forward with the individual world championships. Once again, the timeline for expressions of interest to host these world championships for 2022 will be February 2019. This will be followed by workshops to bidders to understand what their expectations are. And these will be, then the bids will be evaluated during the summer of next year, and the allocation will take place next year at the General Assembly in Moscow. Are there any questions on the process? Yes, Quentin over here from France.
Thank you. Dear Sabrina, dear President, dear board members, dear delegates, that's not regarding the process, but more to give you the feeling of our federation, and I know that this is shared by several federations. We do like the concept of the multidisciplinary championship of the WEG, but taking in account several points like the cost, the scenario of the last WEG, the lack of bidders, of course. WEG, of course, has to evolve, like you said. As an evidence, if we want to imagine future WEGs and so expect future bidders, FEI with a national federation and other stakeholders may make the concept evolving. NF feedbacks following 2014 and the survey managed by team may be taken on board. Of course, update from NF's point of view is required, but we know that several federations are thinking the same, so please, we still have to work on this multidisciplinary World Equestrian Games.
Thank you very much, Quentin. That truly reflects the discussions of yesterday, that for a future World Equestrian Games, we would also have to reconsider how that would work. And for that, we thank you for that. And also, we take into considerations all the things that you said yesterday and the various different national federations. So we look forward to discussing with you, working with you to find the best possible solutions for 2022. And I'm sure we'll have fantastic championships one way or the other. Thank you very much. Are there any further questions or comments for 2022? Okay. Then if not, we will just go through, you have received this information, but it's always good to have it again. The allocation of championships and finals that took place at the Bureau meeting earlier this week. So here is the list. The FEI Jumping South American Championships for Young Riders, Juniors, Pre-Juniors, and Children was allocated to Mariano Roque Alonso in Paraguay, the city. The dates still need to be confirmed. The FEI World Jumping Challenge Final has been allocated to Quito. We are still looking at 2 possible dates, and we look forward to confirming that rapidly. In addition to that, for jumping, which is not listed here, I'd just like to mention that the final for the FEI Jumping Ponies Trophy was allocated to Mechelen in Belgium for the 26th and 30th of December. In dressage, we have the FEI Dressage European Championships Under 25 Young Riders, Junior and Children, which has been allocated to San Giovanni di Mariano. We also have 2 dates, I believe. Yes. For endurance, we have the Endurance Pan American Championships for Seniors and Young Riders to Santiago de Chile from the 30th of October to the 1st of November. In reining, we have the FEI Reining European Championships to Givrin, as well as the FEI Reining World Championships for Young Riders and Juniors, also in Givrin, from the 9th to the 13th of July. Vaulting, the FEI Vaulting World Cup Final will take place in Saumur in France between the 18th and 21st of April. And finally, the FEI North American Youth Championships will take place in North Salem, New York from the 30th to the 4th of August 2019. Congratulations to those national federations and to those venues that have now been allocated these events. We will now move on then to the, oh no, sorry, I would like to do one thing before I do that. Actually, we wanted just to show very briefly a beautiful video from the hosts of the European Championships of Jumping, Dressage, and Para-Dressage, which will take place in Rotterdam next year. If we could have that video, please. We all look forward to that. So we now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the sports forum of next year, which will take place between the 15th and the 16th, 2 days, Monday and Tuesday as usual, April 2019, and that will take place in our favorite venue, IMD Business School in Lausanne. As we have discussed during the week, one of the major topics of this sports forum in 2019 will be on endurance. And again, we look forward to receiving your feedback, which will be fed into the temporary committee for the consideration. As we have also discussed during the week, there will be a review of the FEI legal system, which will include pony measurement, a rules revision process, which is we took on after we had discussions with the several groups that we needed to improve, make sure that it was a better process, and other topics such as gender equality. One of the things that was also brought up by Frank Kemperman, the chair of the Dressage Committee, yesterday was perhaps, and we shall see how this works out, but maybe there will be a need also to talk about the findings and looking forward with you regarding the Dressage working group's recommendations. So we'll tackle that as we go along, and of course we'll let you know way in advance. Are there any questions regarding the sports forum for 2019? No? Then we move on to point 37, which is General Assemblies. This has been a fantastic General Assembly, and there are more fantastic ones to come. Next year, we're extremely pleased to be able to go to Moscow. The dates that have been thought out for Moscow will be the 16th to the 19th of November 2019. They still need to be sort of confirmed, but you can already put these in your agendas. With our board meeting starting the 16th, group meetings would take place on the 17th, groups with the board and the sessions on the 18th, and the General Assembly on the 20th. So basically, it's the same week as this week. And then we're extremely happy as well that we have already been able to allocate the 2020 General Assembly, and that will take place in Johannesburg. So we're really looking forward to that. We, of course, we have received some interests already for 21. So if anybody has any questions or wants more information as how to host a General Assembly, please contact Sophie Ruiz, who I'm sure all of you know by now, and she'll be happy to provide you with all the necessary information. Are there any questions regarding the General Assemblies for 2019 or 2020 or going forward? No? In that case, we move on to point 38, which is national federations. This is in the agenda. You know there's a statutory deadline, and national federations are able to provide a specific point, but we did not receive any points for the agenda within the period or even after. So then we can move on to point 39, which is the International Horse Sports Confederation. And there I'd like to ask my president to take the floor.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. I will be very short about this. I think we have already reported about this in several regional groups and also in the reporting from the veterinary chair. We will have a General Assembly of the International Horse Sports Confederation in December, where we will have to take some important points, I believe, with regard to the future of high health, high performance horse. Maybe not the future, but the implementation of this new system, because as you know, it's a public-private partnership, and one of the responsibilities of the private partner, which are we, is that we need to deliver a framework to get this operated. So we will discuss at our General Assembly with the racing authorities how we are going to create a kind of a database where much more information on horses than we have in our actual database will be collected, such as veterinary certificates, tests, whereabouts of horses, because that, of course, will be a very important point on implementing the high health, high performance horse concept. And we look forward to that. Also, we will get some reports on veterinary research, and I don't know, maybe John McEwen, do you want to add something to that? Because I believe this veterinary research is very important for the future of our sport. I mentioned it already in some groups, but I would appreciate if John could give some further clarifications on this.
Thank you, Ingmar. I thought it was useful, and Ingmar supported this, for me to give you a bit of a rundown of the achievements and the activities that go on within this group. I sort of feel you don't often see this, but it's very important work that's going on in the background, supported by our president and by IHSC. So the origins go back to 2012 when we started this private-public partnership. We then combined with racing to form the IHSC, which has been a very successful partnership. The main leverages we have, and this is all a little complex, but when dealing with import-export issues of the horse, is to use the OIE, which is the World Organization for Animal Health, and is respected by governments worldwide. And they aren't a regulatory body, but when governments regulate, they look to the OIE for advice. The main leverages that we have are the terrestrial code, animal health code, which is developed and revised, and we have had input into areas that are important to us, and the manual of diagnostic tests and vaccines, which again sounds unimportant, but actually having the right tests makes a huge difference to the way we can move our horses. And we also have capacity building activities run within this project. So we have the two codes. We actually then have a dedicated member of OIE staff, which provides technical oversight for the projects. this internal influence is extremely important in reviewing the technical aspects, reviewing the reports and research projects, and actually making sure the whole thing moves forward. The scientific studies on African horse sickness, equine influenza, and glanders have been particularly important. We have had a study with a consortium of partners to review many aspects of African horse sickness. We've had validation studies into the serological diagnosis, in other words, the testing and the tests that are run for African horse sickness. We've had evaluation of the available vaccines and candidate vaccines. We've had impact of a new African horse sickness DIVA vaccine on the equine sector performed. The additional research and development work towards African horse sickness and the strategy and roadmap for development of the commercial vaccine available and safe DIVA African horse sickness vaccine is critical to this process. And the results of this project are going to be presented to the IHSC at this General Assembly in December. And it's been a rapid review, which has been very effective, and our partnership within the areas that African horse sickness is endemic has been very important. So the guidelines, capacities building is really guidelines. Jointly, we've had guidelines for high health and high performance, and when you've heard Göran Ankerstrom talk about these issues, the equine disease-free zone, again, you've heard talked about. It's a particularly important to us when we want to run events in areas where there is disease challenge. 2017, 2018, these guidelines were refined further to guide members in implementing them. This is a tool that is useful to you all in many parts of the world. The terrestrial codes, and this is, don't bother to read this in detail, it will be on the website, but these high health status horses and the subpopulation and the Marline and glanders issues being put into the terrestrial codes has great importance when dealing with import and export of horses. And the terrestrial manual with African horse sickness and glanders being reviewed, and West Nile fever and episodic lymphangitis being reviewed is again important. And the final arm to this is really having these workshops that you've heard Göran talk about at all your group sessions. They are critical. I have watched them work and roll out. They work best when we get buy-in from the areas in which we are working, and some of those results have been spectacularly good. I used to get very depressed about progress, but I'm seeing progress in many parts of the world now, thanks to the linkages that are made through these workshops. It's important that we work with customs, it's important we work with ministries, it's very important that we know the chief veterinary officers of these countries and that our national head vets link in. And I think we've managed to create a great deal of contact and linkage through these processes. And that linkage actually creates a much easier way of moving horses across the globe. We aren't there completely, but we are making progress. It is shown slow and frustrating work at times, and we need your support as NFs. You have to help us get to the right people in the right places. You have to follow up on your roadmaps. And if you do that and we do our help within the scientific research groups, I think we can have a very good outcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John, for this very precise update. And as you see, we are still moving in the right direction, and we are looking forward to discuss the next steps with our partner there, the International Federation of Horse Racing Authorities, within the framework of the International Horse Sports Confederation. Thank you, John. Are there any questions about John's presentation? No, I think it's really important to understand what progress we have made there. And
I think we could put up the complete paper of which this is based on, and that has the references to all the terrestrial issues, so anybody who's interested in the detail can then get it.
Thank you very, very much for that. So that concludes my report on the International Horse Sports Confederation.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Igmar. We move on to point 40, which is the World Horse Welfare, and there we'd like to invite Roly Owers.
Mr. President, Madam Secretary General, friends from across the federations, good afternoon and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you here in Myanmar, in a region that is home of the magnificent Arabian horse. Throughout history, the horse has been our partners in civilization, and there are few other places in the world where this history is so rich and where the horse is so rightly revered. It is a huge, indeed much huger privilege to be speaking to you today. Many of you will have attended previous General Assemblies and will already be familiar with the work of World Horse Welfare and our long association with the FEI. So after touching on this, today I thought it apt to reflect on some core issues that we believe are integral to the future of equestrian sport, which will include returning to my key theme from last year's presentation in Montevideo. World Horse Welfare is an international charity that works to improve and enhance the horse-human partnership through education, influence in policy, and hands-on care. We were founded in 1927, initially as a campaigning organisation, but now works to enhance horse welfare across the extensive roles they continue to play in society, as transport and traction animals, as farming animals, as animals used in therapy, and of course as animals utilised for leisure and sport. Today, we are Britain's largest horse rescue and rehoming charity, with more than 1,800 horses in new homes and over 300 in our rescue and rehoming centres at any one time. In 16 countries across Africa, Asia and Latin America, we work with impoverished equine owners and local governments, partners and veterinary universities to improve equine care standards through community training and by supporting the development of vital services such as farriery, saddlery and equine veterinary expertise. Our influence on policy and legislation remains a key part of our work, and to date we have influenced more than 50 pieces of legislation in Europe alone. Now we are expanding our reach to the OIE, the Food and Agricultural Organization, the World Bank and even the United Nations. And we are pleased to act as independent welfare advisors to the FEI, with whom we help draft the Welfare Code of Conduct and in the UK, the British Horse Racing Authority. As your President has already reiterated today, the foundation of all our organisations is good governance. The FEI, national federations, other sporting entities and charities have all had to focus rigorously on this in recent years to ensure our futures. Integrity, safeguarding, data protection, transparency and accountability are more important than ever. It is, of course, hugely frustrating that however much we have prioritised good governance, that we have all been affected by the PR fallout from recent examples, albeit relatively few, but horrific nevertheless, of bad governance practice in charities and in sport. That, unfortunately, is just life, and simply means that we have to redouble our efforts to ensure we continue to develop and operate outstanding governance. World Horse Welfare is run by an executive, and we are guided and overseen by a council of trustees, selected and elected from the wider sector and beyond, according to specific areas of expertise, including equestrian, veterinary, fundraising, finance and campaigning. 4 committees advise council and are comprised of both trustees and experts from outside of the charity to provide strategic direction and support for our international work, our communications and fundraising, together with our financial and veterinary policy. Of most relevance to today is our Veterinary Advisory Committee, and you might well recognise many of the names here, including John McEwen, Professor Tim Parkin from the University of Glasgow, an expert in sport horse health who has been working with the FEI on the global equine injuries research, and World Horse Welfare Trustee Dr. Coombs, a four-star endurance and eventing veterinarian of many years' experience, who is now heading up the FEI's temporary committee to create a roadmap for the future of endurance. We are privileged to have such respected and experienced advisors to help us shape our veterinary policies and approaches to equine health and welfare. And you can hopefully see that our interest in and our passion for the responsible use of horses in sport runs deep. Forging partnerships of common purpose is integral to our strategy, as indeed it is for the global equine sector. We cannot sit in silos and pretend one part of the equine world does not affect another. Disease, for instance, knows no borders. The need for skilled professionals to support the horse world is something the FEI recognised when FEI Solidarity funded a 3-year programme with World Horse Welfare and the Cambodia Pony Welfare Organisation in 2013 to improve the farriery and saddlery skills of those who support the Cambodian equestrian team, as well as those who tend to local working animals. A sustainable pipeline of skills, expertise, and status in these areas is integral to building capacity for the future of horse sport. Most recently, we have been partnering with other equine welfare charities, especially the Donkey Sanctuary, to highlight the economic benefits and contribution of the world's 100 million plus working equids to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and raise awareness of this at the UN and wider so that this partnership is recognised in policy and practice. This theme will continue to become increasingly important, and while World Horse Welfare sees the value of working equids to the livelihoods of nearly 750 million people in low and middle-income countries around the world, it is fitting for the FEI and national federations to contemplate the contribution your equestrian industries make in your own countries. In the UK, for instance, the horse sector is the largest rural employer out after agriculture. In Ireland, the horse sector comprises around 10% of the economy. Across Europe, equestrianism contributes €100 billion annually. In the USA, it is $112 billion. In short, the horse and the horse industry are vital to the livelihoods not just of the globe's poor, but as we see in this room, to the economies, cultures and societies of all countries. We should all take the time to reflect and whether what this impact really means for horse sport, and whether we are truly realising this opportunity. You might well reasonably ask why a welfare charity is so interested in economic benefit. Quite simply because if horses and what they do for people are valued, they will be valued, and the sectors that rely on them will be valued. And rather than continue to be invisible to policymakers, they will be visible, firmly on the map, and as such, their health and welfare will be better protected. This is why each of us has such a vital role to play, engaging with our national governments to make them understand the vital importance of equines, and especially horse sport, to the economy, to our culture, and to sustainable development. Show them what you bring to your country, how equestrian sport is a growth opportunity, providing employment, skills, and not least, great joy and cultural pride. Horses matter to people and economies, and working together, we can raise the status of what we do, the horses we rely on, and the hundreds of millions of people who depend on them. For the equestrian sector to thrive, we need to understand the emerging importance of having a social licence to operate. The FEI's values cite that the horse is at the heart of the sport. They are absolutely right. I spoke last year about how equestrian sports need to earn and maintain your social licence, and this has become ever more important over the last 12 months. At last month's World Horse Welfare Conference, we reflected on the theme of changing times. perhaps never before in living memory have the reprioritization of values, expectations, and power of society been so instrumental in reshaping what people, organizations, and indeed whole industries can do with the acceptance of the public. Social media is a democratizer and a monster, or something in between, depending on your perspective. Photos, videos, rumour, campaigns go viral within seconds, and equestrian sports and its ethics are under scrutiny like never before. But we have nothing to fear if we have nothing to hide. And if we have nothing to hide, we need to do more to be more transparent, robustly accountable, and be seen to be living up to our values and having the good of the horse at the heart of everything we do. We have reflected before on the dangers for any sport, but especially those that involve animals, if the public perceives that the participants are being placed at unnecessary risk. Of course, we know that there will always be risks in horse sport, but any perception that the risk of horse abuse, injury, or fatality is simply accepted will place its future in grave danger. If by any chance you're not convinced by this risk, then I would suggest that you take heed of an example in the UK last month. An animal rights organisation initiated a high-profile parliamentary debate on whether the racing industry could be trusted to protect horse welfare in racing, after successfully attracting over 100,000 petition signatures. The government did not give the racing regulator an easy time. And while they did recognise the contribution of the sector in trying to improve welfare, they made it clear that the regulator needed to do more and that the spotlight should remain on reducing fatalities and improving the welfare of racehorses. This is just one reason why every single federation needs to proactively put welfare front and centre of your operations, but also to constantly reiterate to the public how you are doing this in practice. You are the regulators who are responsible for the governance of horse sport across the globe. It is becoming ever more apparent how vital it is for you to be brave, transparent, and accountable in developing and, more importantly, enforcing your rules. As we all know too well, you can have the best rules in the world, but they amount to nothing more than a muck heap if they are not enforced, and this inflicts extraordinary damage on the integrity of our sport. So in drawing to a close, I wanted to stress the vital role that all officials, judges, stewards, and veterinarians fulfill here, and to highlight the critical importance of their training, their expertise, their conscientiousness, and their independence. These people are integral to fair sport and the safeguarding of horse welfare. It is essential that officials never feel intimidated or threatened in calling out bad behaviour wherever they witness it. And they must always have the robust support of event organisers, nationals, federations, and the FEI if equestrian sports are to thrive in this area of relentlessly increasing public scrutiny. Let no one allow the integrity and the professionalism of your officials to be questioned. There is so much to celebrate in the equestrian sport, and whilst we need to recognise the growing risks we face, equally, we need to grab hold of the opportunity we have right here, right now. Let us seize the chance to build on the foundations of the sport's social licence through better governance, enhanced transparency, promoting greater recognition of the true impact of horse sport, and above all, ensuring we have the best officials in the world. If we achieve this, then, in these changing times, together, we really can make a difference and secure the future of horse sport for many years to come. Thank you very much indeed.
Ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions for Rolly before he departs? If not, thank you very much, Rolly, for that eloquent and passionate speech. We all know that welfare of the horse needs to stay at the forefront. Thank you very much. And now, Mr. President, it's up to you.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. as the end of this General Assembly is approaching, it's regretfully, I would say, time to say goodbye to some Bureau members, and in this case, some Bureau members that have been there, as far as I know, forever almost. And I would like to invite John McEwen to receive a little token of appreciation. He has been chair of the Veterinary Committee from 2006 till now, so that is 12 years. But besides that, he has also been vice president of my predecessor, Her Royal Highness Princess Haya. And as you know, it is customary that people that have served for such a long time in this organization in such important positions, that we honor them. And I would like to ask you to approve to nominate John McEwen, FEI Honorary Vice President. So please, can I have your approval for that? I don't think we need cards for that, John. I think we cannot express enough how great our appreciation, and also I'm sure of my predecessors, for all the work you did in this organization. You have restructured the whole veterinary regulations. You made them much more adapted for the needs of our community, for the needs of our athletes, the needs of our federations, and for that we are tremendously grateful. I'm sure that you will not be leaving completely, because I know that your successor, Jenny Hall, has a lot of work, and she will have to start to concentrate on the veterinary committee. So I would also really appreciate if in some other roles you still would be prepared to support the FEI, not in the least in this International Horse Sports Confederation, and specifically in the veterinary research that is undertaken there, if you could stay there to support us in our work within the IHSA. So thank you very much, John, and I would like to give you a little token of appreciation. Another person that and there I must say I know already since I went to my first General Assembly, which was in 1990, I think, or 91, is somebody who was already around at that time. We have been for several times also colleague Secretary Generals of our national federation, and I can say we had at the time in our regional groups 1 and 2 at the time, the mixed meetings, which finally, after so many years, we could fix into the creation of one regional group also within the FEI, the European Equestrian Federation. We have had, during these group meetings, very often very strong discussions, but we always came to a solution. And he has also been the founder and the founding president of the European Equestrian Federation. As some of you know, I have served a very short term as Secretary General of this organization. But I think what Hanfried, Dr. Haring, has done for our sport, and especially for the development of equestrian sport in Europe, has been instrumental, and for that he really deserves our appreciation. And I would like you to accept and to agree with me that he would be nominated FEI Honorary Bureau Member. Could you agree with that? I think so. Thank you very much, Hanfried, and I'm sure that we will see you still a lot, because I understood also from the newly elected president of the European Equestrian Federation, Theo Ploegmakers, that he will use you. I will say, if they say that use you, it's mostly abuse you to support him in his activities within the European Federation. So thank you very much. As you all know, it was very sad that at a certain moment our good friend Brian Sheehan, chair of the Endurance Committee and a very devoted veterinarian for the endurance sport, that he, for health reasons, and I can tell you it's really serious, because he really tried and wanted to be with us, and he wanted for the last year to be active, but the situation was just not improving in the way that he would like. And I think we have to appreciate the fact that he then, for health reasons, had to resign in order to allow this organization to move on. He has been chair of the Endurance Committee between 2012 and 2018, and many of you, it have always been some turbulent times sometimes. So I think also he deserves our appreciation to be nominated FEI Honorary Bureau Member. If you would agree, I would like your approval for that. And I would like to invite the representative of the Australian National Federation to, on his behalf, receive our token for appreciations for this. And another person whose term came to an end is the chair of the reining committee. Bob Thompson was chair of the reining committee between 2010 and 2018. Also, Bob, I believe, made very important changes in the reining discipline, was always a very good defender of the interests of the FEI within NRHA, within AQHA. He was basically the creator of the Memorandum of Understanding that we signed some years ago with NRHA and AQHA. He's a strong defender of the values of the FEI, and also in trying to convince these organizations that anti-doping is the fight that we must lead, and that they had to adapt to our anti-doping regulations, which regretfully they didn't manage to do. And as you know from the previous discussion, that will be continued at the Sports Forum. I would like, Bob couldn't be here for family reasons, so and we understand that. I also would like to invite, he's not a bureau member because the chair of the reining committee is not part of the board, I need to say now. Thank you. But I would like to invite the representative of the Canadian National Federation here to also receive a token of our appreciation that I hope will fit in your suitcase to be taken back to Canada. So can I invite you? Yes, thank you. So that's a bit the sad news, people that leave. The good news is that we have new bureau members. We have a new chair of the veterinary committee, Dr. Jenny Hall. And I must say that I'm very pleased, specifically also because she will help us to increase the gender equality in our board, and that's also very important, especially also in the Olympic movement. So Jenny, if I can invite you to come here to receive your FEI Bureau member pin. And maybe I can ask Theo also to prepare already, because I know it's a big ballroom. Welcome, Jenny. Welcome as Bureau member, and we look forward to work with you. Jenny? And then I would like to invite Theo Ploegmakers, the newly elected president of the European Equestrian Federation, and with the statutory changes that we have made also within the FEI, he's now also a bureau member, a board member. Sorry, I will need to rehearse that a lot of times. But Theo, welcome to the club, and I wish you good luck and all the best. And also, I have the pleasure to give you the, is it this side? Okay. The FEI bureau member pin. Congratulations, Theo. As you know, we have also what we call FEI honorary delegates, and that we celebrate every year at the General Assembly. This is in principle people that have attended 15 General Assemblies, and I'm happy to invite here to receive the honorary delegates badge Mr. Mu Sunyap from Malaysia and Ghazi Yeya from Lebanon. Please, can you come forward? Yes, 15 General Assemblies is a lot. So then I would like to thank again the National Federation of Bahrain, the Bahrain Royal Equestrian and Endurance Federation, and I would like to invite His Highness Sheikh Faisal bin Rashid Al Khalifa to come here and to receive from the FEI also a token of appreciation for organizing such a great General Assembly. And also, of course, the Secretary General of the Bahrain Royal Equestrian and Endurance Federation, Mr. Khalib Al-Alawi. Please step forward. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. So this brings us to the end of this General Assembly. And of course, I would like to thank again all the delegates from the national federations, especially for their support and their trust in me. To thank also the board members now and all the volunteers. And especially, I would also like to thank the FEI staff and the people that have organized this General Assembly. I know there is a lot of work behind the scenes, and I would like to especially thank our team, our organizing team. I know they are not all here because they are already preparing the next festivity, but thank you for doing such a great job. So we will see each other later tonight, I hope, at the FEI Awards Gala presented by Longines. And then afterwards, I hope that many of you will come also back to Lausanne in April for the Sports Forum. And then ultimately, we are really looking forward to a General Assembly in Moscow next year in November. By this, I declare the General Assembly closed, and maybe, I don't know, our Secretary General has maybe some housekeeping things to fix.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So, dearest delegates, as you know, tonight is the FEI Awards Gala presented by Longines. It'll take place at the Ritz-Carlton, and buses will be leaving from both hotels at 7 o'clock sharp at the main entrance of your hotel. Thank you very much, and looking forward to see you there.